Hidely ho there, friends. It's Chad from Colorado Giants. I'm in my greenhouse. Fun fact, it's 9 o'clock on the nose. I've installed all of my lights so I can work 24/7. I don't have to worry about the sun anymore. We're going to do an update that will span into tomorrow. So stay tuned. I appreciate you tuning into the channel, and if you haven't done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's down in this quadrant over here in this general direction. You hit the like button and then it turns into a bell. Hit that bell as well so you get a notification when I put out a new video. I put one out maybe every week or so with some ish. Sometimes more ish, sometimes less ish. I was on vacation, I came back, I did a little update video. I think, I'm fairly positive. Yeah, I did. So it's time for an update past that. Today is Memorial Day, Monday, May 29th. Thank you to everybody who has served, and thank you so much to everybody who has made the ultimate sacrifice to allow us to live in the greatest country in the world. We're not perfect, but we're still better than all the rest. Flaws and all, hopefully we get better. Let's not get political now. We're talking about watermelon plants and pumpkin plants. Right in front of me right here, I have rolled the plastic tarp back. I smoothed everything out. I wish I would have taken some B-roll so I could show you, but the tarp worked great. When I peeled it back, there was only a little bindweed. If you don't know what bindweed is, it's a really pain in the butt weed. It grows from a rhizome, so you can't just spray it and it's dead because there's a rhizome deep below and it just kind of perpetually comes back. That's really the only thing that was under the tarp when I pulled it back, and those were spindly and unhappy because they hadn't had any light. So it was a piece of cake to hit them with the loop hoe, knock them down. All in all, I love the tarp. It's great. And when I was doing that, I peeled the whole thing back and I watered it heavily just to get some moisture down in there, feed everything, get everybody happy. And yeah, so that was really good. On my agenda for tomorrow, because I have one more day off, and then we're going to go on vacation, just Emily and I, FYI, next weekend. Then no more travel. It's just me, you, and the plants, I promise. I'm going to put down the rest of my irrigation line because my plants are really rocking and rolling. I'm not sure if you can see, but I haven't culled them yet. So tomorrow morning we have to cull. We're going to do some more weeding, shocker, and really start to bury the main vine, because at this point it's probably 6 or 7 feet long, and it's time for me to get in there and really starting to manage the plant. More on that tomorrow. What I was going to mention though, what I'm out here finishing up tonight is I'm filling up my tanks. I'm getting a fertilizer solution ready to go for the morning time. And I'm just kind of scoping out the watermelon plots. I took my loop hole, again, I knocked down the few weeds. I got my rake, I raked everything out. The patch, the plots here for the watermelons look great. So all I really need to do is get my weed fabric. I'm going to put weed fabric down and plant the watermelons, because apparently watermelon people plant their plants and they grow them out on weed fabric. So hey, that's great for me, less weeds to deal with. One I'm going to let kind of grow just chaotically everywhere, and then the other plant I'm going to try and keep it, sort of like a pumpkin plant. I know Nick McClassen, one of those guys. Sorry, Nick, if I ever butchered your name and you ever watch this. But he seems to plant them, kind of looks like a pumpkin plant, and he has some great pumpkin or watermelons, and I think that's kind of what people are starting to do. So we'll give it a shot. The watermelon plants look good. They probably should have been planted a while ago, but such is life. I'm doing a good job on keeping up with everything this year so far. as a whole. I've been spending time with family and doing lots of stuff because my world is not just pumpkins, and unfortunately I'm not retired, yada yada yada, but you know, all in all, I have a pretty good balance this year. I'm pretty happy. I just got to get in here tomorrow, get caught up on the pumpkin plants, which I feel like I say once a week or so, and then really we'll be good. The watering system is done for the most part. I just got to plug in lines. That'll take me an hour. So, you know, I'm not in a bad shape in any way, shape, or form. I'm in great shape, in fact. I'm probably 7 to 10 days ahead of where I was last year looking at the YouTube videos. So I'm super happy. But the Golden Knights just won. I was listening to it on my phone. I wanted to hop on real quick, show you guys my new nighttime lighting situation, which is really cool because when I do get to that point where I'm very behind on vine bearing or whatnot, I can just plug these lights in and I can do work, you know, until whenever. 10 o'clock. Emily wouldn't like that, but you know, hey, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. So we'll come back tomorrow. I'll show you the pumpkin plants and we'll make some decisions. I'll talk you through how I'm culling the plants, why I'm doing what, and we'll go from there. See you in the morning. Well, good morning, everyone. Back at it again today, trying to finish basically everything that I need to do. We talked about I have to cull down my plants today. We'll talk about that. I have to run the rest of my drip lines, and I planted my watermelons already. I threw down that weed fabric, kind of covered up the edge a little bit, planted the plants, and then I realized that I didn't run the water lines underneath it. Oops. So I'll have to figure out something about that because watering it in, I noticed that the water is just beating on top of the weed fabric, and though it will probably soak in, that's just not ideal. We want it right on the soil so it just goes right down. So I have to redo some of the work that I did. Probably my least favorite thing to do ever. Over here, let's look at the plants. So I'm going to take down the tents. Obviously, weeds. I weeded inside the hot huts and I didn't weed outside. And I was doing just a little test of like some weed killer so you could see what the weed killer does and then what it doesn't. Because when I weed, like I weeded this one, and a lot of it kind of comes back because you're just hitting it with the Stirrupo or the Lupo, whatever you want to call it. It'll kind of replant itself. So what I'm going to do, and what I did last night actually, was I sprayed it with the weed killer, and then I'm going to weed it again. That way it's already dying. A lot of the times it takes, what did the jug say? Like up to 3 days for it to die. So it's called, I forget what it's called. It's like the green dead or the living dead or something. I don't know. Here we are. I need to cull these really bad. It's obvious. We're going to keep this one, but we got a secondary vine cruising over there, invading its space, so we need to fix that. Not a big deal. And obviously, it's poking out onto the plastic, so we got to roll some plastic back, move the walking boards around, take the tents down, etc., etc., etc. A lot of work to do. So I am going to get to it, and when I have some progress made, we'll talk about it. I have Maxwell, my helper. He's putting, what do you have in your hand? Show everybody what you have in your hand.
I have little tiny worms in my hand.
Nice. Little tiny worms. We took off the plastic, and I'm going to do this plant first. Gonna take out the hoops. I usually leave this one. I'll take out the other ones. And right now I'm trying to decide on what plant I'm going to keep versus pull. The 2560 Ginger is that plant. The 1643, I think it is, new is this one, and I'm leaning towards the 1643. I honestly, I don't want it to be this plant. As far as growth goes, this one is a hair longer. But what I'm looking at is mainly the secondary vines. The secondary vines on this plant are more aggressive, and because my plants are going to be wider than longer, secondary vine length is something that is going to be very important for me this year. And this one has secondary vines. I mean, you can kind of see it starting to eclipse out from under the main vine leaves, but they're just not, it's not as aggressive, they're not as big as this plant. I like the leaves on this one. I like smaller leaves. These leaves are a little bit bigger. That's really not, you know, a huge deal, but yeah. And I also wanted more genetic diversity because those two are both 1643s over there. So it was kind of the plan to grow the same seed, but I wasn't, you know, super set or excited about it. But now that I'm listening to the plants, I'm looking at the plants, I'm letting the plant tell me that it's the best one, you know, I think I need to go with this one and not the 2560, as much as I don't really want to, if I'm being honest. But I got to listen to the plant. That's bit me in the behind before. So 2560's out. 1643 will be staying over here. Back to work. Here is, we'll have to start naming these since these are going to be the same seed, but maybe we call this south plant, north and south plant. All done, weeded, took the hoops off, obviously got rid of the other plant, trained the secondary vines, pulling them back, and got it all squared away. The only thing that I have not done is vineberry, and I'll probably do that tonight when it's not so hot in here. And what I have left to do, this one, so I'll come back to this when I'm all done. Obviously, this is the one that I'm keeping. It's probably a good 2 foot longer, strong secondary vine growth. Got to get rid of this one. This does have a wayward secondary vine. There's the first two secondary vines are on this side, so I think I'm going to try and swing that other one around. But nothing but to do it than to do it. So here's the before, and we'll come back to the after. Just real quick, I wanted to show you what it looks like when I pull the tarp back. I'm going to water this pretty good. Make sure all the biology is awake and alive and happy and all that good stuff ahead. But I peeled it back, and the only place where there's green is this section had a couple of little holes in it. Let's go over here and I can show you more butter. So there's a couple of holes. Speaking of, that sweet hole Max was digging. Found lots of worms in there. And so right here, this is what I was talking about before. So you can see those little bits of bindweed, a little like maybe dandelion, and then there was a tiny little hole in the tarp, and another one over there. But other than that, the area as a whole, 100% weed free. Again, I'm going to water this, get the soil, continue to have it be happy. I will, put the water lines down, and then I'm going to roll it back. And then as the pumpkin plant progresses, I'm going to continue to roll it back, just so minimal weed pressure, because weeds suck. No weeds are better. After a good afternoon worth of work, better part of the afternoon really, pretty much all done. Currently I am doing the peroxide sterilization on this side, on and then off on that one. So if we look up here, that half is not getting sterilized. That's already been done. I'm doing, from here forward ahead of the plant, throwing the peroxide down. We can already see it kind of, super zoom. We can see it bubbling. So it's killing all the bad stuff. Unfortunately, killing all the good stuff. But we will replace the good stuff. Not a problem. The only thing I really didn't get to is to totally finish the weeding. I finished weeding in the general proximity of each plant. I've got the vines pinned back how I want them, starting the pattern. This plant's really aggressive. Long internodal spacing. Got that $2 word or phrase from Brad. He sent it in a text message, and I was thinking to myself, like, you know what? I need to use more fancy words like Brad, because Brad's smart. So if I do that, I'll be smart too. So yeah, ultimately, I think I said both of these are the 1643 News. Beat out the 2560 Kinger, the Maverick. It was just better, so I had to go with a better plant. What I have left to do is I'm going to, as soon as I get done with this video, I'm going to roll the tarp back over. I'm going to roll the tarps back. That will help to fumigate the soil even more so. I will let that kind of percolate and evaporate overnight, and tomorrow morning I will then re-inoculate everything with my beneficial bacteria. It's interesting, you can see all of the bubbling action going on. I think I got some on my thumb. Memo to self, use gloves because I bleached my skin. Yeah, PPE. Use it, don't be like me. So it's doing its thing. I'm gonna roll the tarp back over and re-inoculate with good stuff tomorrow. Pretty much the only thing left on the agenda is pull all these weeds. Not a big deal. That'll take me 15 minutes with the loop hoe, and then bury all the vines. Another 15-20 minutes, and we will be all caught up, ready to go out of town so we can get uncaught up again, get behind, and yeah, pretty awesome. So that is your lengthy update. If you have any questions, get back with me. Have a good one. Get out there, grow yourself giant pumpkin. See ya.